Hey guys, I thought I would do another playing with makeup forgotten loves or just plain old forgotten. There's some things in my collection that I have and have never used. And again, I've been decluttering, and so I've been running across these things like, oh yeah, completely forgot about this. So I thought I would throw some of those things in here along with some forgotten loves. And if you are interested, we're gonna go ahead and put all of those things on my face together. But before we begin, my name is Michelle, and I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel down below. This channel is dedicated to luxury makeup and skincare, and I'd love to have you join the wonderful community here. And without any further ado, let's go ahead and put some makeup on. So we are gonna start with primer, and this was one that I came across when I was doing my declutter, and it's like I knew I had this, but had completely forgotten about it. This is the Tom Ford Illuminating Primer. And it's one of those primers that has little bits of shimmer in there. It really does a nice job, like the name would suggest. It really does a nice job illuminating. And in terms of primer, I don't consider it one that is especially tacky or, you know, it's not really silicone-y in any way. It really is, if anything, just kind of moisturizing. It really just feels like I'm adding lotion to my skin. I think when I had first hauled this product, or at least first mentioned it on my channel, someone asked me if mine smelled funny. And I thought, well, let me go back and take a sniff because I didn't notice anything. And after smelling it, I thought, well, it has a little bit of a smell, but nothing, you know, nothing bad. And she said, oh, well, I got one and it just smells awful to me and it's bad and I'm exchanging it or whatever. And she got a second one and it smelled bad to her too. So there is like a scent to this, and I think it's one of those, like, it smells bad to some people, doesn't smell that offensive to others, and it doesn't smell that offensive to me. Personally, it doesn't really like linger or anything. So anyway, just an FYI regarding this Tom Ford Illuminating Primer. You may find that it smells a little weird to you. So just throwing that out there. So there it is on my face. I think you can see it, but it just gives you kind of like this like pearlescent kind of glow, much like what you see in the bottle. Just a really kind of pearly sheen. It's very, very nice. And like I said, it's not very tacky or anything. It just feels like a cream on your face. So next up, this is a forgotten, I mean, long time forgotten love of mine, but this is a Giorgio Armani Luminous Silk Foundation. This is probably one of the very first foundations I purchased when I started getting back into makeup, like 4 or 5 years ago. And if you can believe, so I have the shade 4, and when I had purchased it back then, I was living in New York, and I guess I was much tanner because I was a 5.5. I can't even imagine that now. That would look very, very deep for my skin tone. It's been so long, I don't even know if this shade still works for me. So I'm gonna go ahead and pump some out. Hopefully it's still good. I don't smell anything, so that's a good sign. All right, so I'm gonna take my Sonia G Base 1 brush. I actually just spot cleaned it, so it looks pretty clean. Hello? Hi, how are you? Can you tell me how much that will cost? Okay. Even better. Bye-bye. So last night I was driving home from dinner, and my car, I guess you could say, broke down. I mean, it didn't really break down, but I have a hybrid, and as I'm driving on the highway and I hear like the very violent, like beep, 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 and I'm like, I'm not, you know, close to the person in front of me. So I look down onto my dashboard, and there's this huge, you know, orange triangle with exclamation point, this huge warning. And it basically, you know, I'm driving, so I'm like, you know, keeping an eye on the road and like looking down, but all I see is turn engine off now. And I'm like, well, I'm driving though. So long story short, I had to pull over. I turned my car off, turned it back on, turned it off, turned it back on, hoping this error message would kind of just go away on its own. I used to work in IT, so I'm like, reboot it, that should work. And that did not work. So I had to call for a tow truck. And if you're new to my channel, or even if you're not, you may not know this, but I moved to Las Vegas from New York City about 2 years ago. So this is the first time in my life that I've had to drive anywhere. You know, you live in New York City, you definitely do not need a car. In fact, it's prohibitive. So, you know, this was the first time I've ever had to call like a tow truck. I had no idea. Thankfully, my husband signed us up for AAA, got my car towed. He drives up and he's like, hey, how you doing? And, you know, I jump out of my car and I was like, hi, I've never done this before. He was like, okay. I was like, do I stay in the car and turn the engine off? Do you want me to get out of the car? Am I in your way? Anyway, it was quite the little adventure, but it went really smoothly. I'm glad nothing major happened. So anyway, I was just interrupted by a phone call from my dealership because also I didn't realize. So I asked the guy who was towing me, I was like, I guess you can just tow me home, and then when the dealership opens tomorrow, I'm gonna have to call for another tow from my apartment to the dealership. And he was like, you could drop it off at the dealership like overnight and just put your key in the drop box. And I was like, what is that? So anyway, he was like, let's get you to the dealership. Can you get a ride from there or whatever? So then I called my husband. He was like, what happened? So I didn't even know about any of that. So all of this is like brand new to me. It's never happened to me. It was a fun adventure last night. Let's put on some concealer. Let's talk about this foundation first. So it has more coverage than I remember. I do think this color is good. I think it's a good match to my neck. And I like the finish of it. There's a little bit of radiance. Actually looks pretty good. But it does have more coverage than I remember. All right, let's move on to concealer. So I have the Dior Skin Forever Undercover. I purchased this for my concealer week that I did, I don't know, last year, maybe August or September. I really enjoyed this. It's fairly light. It has a nice texture. Ever since concealer week, maybe I used it once or twice after that, but it's just been sitting in my drawer. So I thought I would pull this back out and use it today. Oh, that's right. So the color of this, you could actually probably tell in the tube. It's not the most brightening. It is just like my skin tone. So I don't expect much brightening under the eye with this one. Just makes my under eye area look a little bit more perfected. All right, and as for setting powder, so I really, really like this NARS Translucent Crystal Light Reflecting Setting Powder. I have the pressed version, and I generally don't like a shimmery kind of powder to set, especially under my eyes, but this one, for some reason, it's pretty shimmery looking in the pan. You can probably see how it's like reflecting light, but I don't feel like it translates onto the skin. I feel like it's just a very kind of basic setting powder. So it just looks really, really nice. What I forgot is that it's pretty hard pressed in here. And I was trying to use my Wang airbrush, which is a very soft brush, and it's really not picking anything up. So let me get a different brush here. All right, I've got this Wang number 10 brush. This is Undyed Goat. So this is gonna be a little bit, yeah, I'm just kind of running it across, and I'm picking up quite a bit more powder. But I do remember this powder also, before I even began using it, I had to take a spoolie and scrape across the top. Otherwise, I just couldn't get any powder. So it was one of those products that had that kind of like layer on top. So I am just going to set around my eyes with this. But see how it like mattifies my skin? It's not very shimmery. I don't know, it's pretty deceptive in the pan, but there's a definite, you can probably see it, there's a definite kind of like white cast to it, so it's very, very brightening. And then for all over my face, I'm gonna go ahead and use my Chantecaille HD Perfecting Powder, and it's this pressed version. And I'm gonna use my Chikuhodo Artist 20-10 brush and just use this all over my face. Oh, so I didn't really finish my story, did I? So the dealership just called. There was some sort of recall on the part, which I didn't get. I actually have to talk to them and make sure they have my right email address, but they had to change some sort of chip. I don't know. Should be fixed. It should be fine now. I can go pick it up. So actually, I should hurry it up because I do have to go get the car. All right, so that is the Chantecaille setting powder. I love this powder. Chantecaille powders are so silky, so fine, really just impeccably beautiful powders. So this one I definitely have not used in a while, and definitely a forgotten love. All right, next up we've got bronzer, and this was new to me last year, and then I don't know, just stuck it in my drawer and then just didn't really use it. I actually think when I got this, that 1 month I was using it kind of nonstop, and then it appeared in my favorites, and then I was like, all right, Michelle, just like put the bronzer down, and then I just never went back to it. And that's the Anastasia powder bronzer, and I have it in the shade Rosewood. I had initially purchased Rosewood and Tawny, and Tawny's a little bit deeper, and I always ended up using Rosewood, so I actually decluttered Tawny, but it's a great, great bronzer. Very pigmented, very, very pigmented. So I'm going to use a very light hand. I'm going to use my Tom Ford bronzer brush. And it's a matte bronzer, so it's really just, you know, very universal. There's that bronzer. And I just barely dipped my brush in. Very pigmented. But I really like this bronzer. It's just a really nice basic bronzer. Again, it's matte, so there's like no sheen to it. And it even says powder bronzer for face and body. Creates a natural matte traceless finish for buildable coverage. Definitely buildable, very, very pigmented. I would be careful using this bronzer. Definitely go in with a light hand, but it's great. You know, it's great. It's just blends out beautifully. It's a little bit like a tinge warmer than the other matte bronzers that I probably reach for a little bit more, like the Bobbi Brown and the Edward Best for sure. This is a little bit warmer. Not warmer in a bad way, but just in comparison to those. Blush. So these blushes, when they came out, I was like smitten, completely smitten, and then just stopped using them. I feel like they were like out of stock for a long time, and I think people thought that they weren't, that they were being discontinued. I actually don't know what the story is. I think they're still around, but these are the Marc Jacobs Air Blushes, and this one is Flush and Fantasy. This is the most neutral of them. And someone, I think her channel name is like For the Love of Makeup or The Love of Makeup, something like that. Gosh, I feel so bad that I can't remember, but she duped this for the Charlotte Tilbury Pillow Talk. So it's pretty much a dead ringer for the Pillow Talk. Let me go ahead and apply this. Of course, I can't find a blush brush. All right, I'm gonna use my Tom Ford No. 6 blush brush, and I'm just gonna kind of swipe it across the pan here. Just goes on really kind of like airbrushed, which is why I guess they call it air blush, but it's really beautiful. It's a really interesting formula, this Marc Jacobs blush. It really kind of feels like the powder is just sort of floating above your skin. So there is Flush and Fantasy and then highlighter. So this was something I got in my Beautylish Lucky Bag. If you guys watched my declutter highlighters, you saw me talk about this. So this is the Jouer Skinny Dip. And I got it in my Beautylish Lucky Bag and was like, oh, so excited to have received this, and then never used it. So this is one of the products in my collection that was just simply forgotten. So I don't know if I love it yet. We shall see. This pan is super small. I don't think this is their regular highlighter size. I think this is one of their minis. And so this is my Sonia G Sculpt 2 brush. Ooh, that's really bright. I think this tone is just a hint too deep for me, but I don't mind it though. I think it's really pretty. Wow, this is a really bright highlight. I'm gonna use the brush that I used for the NARS translucent powder, and I'm gonna use that and kind of buff it out a little bit. So that's the Jouer Skinny Dip. You guys let me know, but I think it looks okay, but like close up I can see the like deep goldness in it, and it looks a little bit obvious when I get like close to the mirror. All right, so I just added some Tom Ford Fiber Brow Gel to my brows. Didn't want to bore you with that because this is not forgotten, nor is it a forgotten love. So anyway, I did that off camera. So this is the Melt 27 palette. And I purchased this right on the heels of the Gemini palette. I love the Gemini palette. That actually probably should have been in my bust of 2018, but I don't think you can get it anymore or yet. Again, I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with that palette, but it was out of stock and I really didn't want to mention limited edition products. Anyway, I purchased this, was so excited to get it. I know we're all like eyeball deep in warm palettes, but I just thought this one was really, really pretty. I like the looks of this one a lot more than a lot of my other warmer palettes, but have I used it yet? No. So this is not a forgotten love, but a simply forgotten full stop palette. So I am excited to use this one. All right, so I'm going to start with my Sonia G Crease 2 brush. This side looks to be more neutral. This side looks to be more warm. So I guess I'll start here, even though this is pretty deep, but I'll start there. And that one is One More Thing. And brush this right into my socket line. Ooh, that's pretty. So when I used the Gemini palette, that was actually one of the rare eyeshadow palettes that I found to be more successful with synthetic brushes. So I wonder if it's going to be the same deal with this. I wonder if I didn't clean this brush off well enough, because this is definitely a matte shadow, but I see some glitter on my eyes. So just ignore that. But I love this shade for like a transition. That's pretty. I'm going to use my Sonia G Builder Pro brush and go into Thick, which is the shade right there, and just add a little bit more depth to the outer corner. Whoa, this one's a little bit more powdery than the previous shade. This one's more powdery than this one. Nice. Well, I'm not having any issues with natural hair and these shadows. I think these are blending beautifully. All right, and last but not least, I'm just gonna add one of these shimmery shades to my lid. Not sure which one. So this one is Crime Fighter. This one is much warmer. And then this one is Vegas Past. I think I need to use Vegas Past. I mean, with a name like that, how could I not? I'm actually just gonna clean off my Blender Pro and use that brush again and go into Vegas Past and put that on my lid. I have a teeny bit of fallout here from that shade, not really surprising. These are very soft. I'm gonna take a big fluffy brush. This is the Makeup Forever 242 brush. I'm gonna go back into One More Thing, the original color, and just blend out the crease area a little bit more. The shimmers are nice. I bet if I wet my brush, they would be a lot more loud, but I kind of like this. Well, I'm not surprised. I really like Melt Cosmetics shadows, so this one worked well for me. So far, I've only used 3 shades in here, but I'm going to take a pencil brush and go into Whiskey Neat, which is this like less red tone brown, and I'm going to use this to line my eyes. All right, so I just finished up lining my eyes. I think that looks nice. I think it looks really subtle, not too dramatic. I'm gonna go ahead and curl my eyelashes, and I'm gonna use my new Japanese mascara that I love so much. But let me go ahead and curl my lashes and I'll be right back. All right, so I have my Can Make Quick Lash Curler. I got so many responses to this mascara and I just wanted to thank everyone. I think everyone was starting to recommend different like Asian type mascaras to me, but I'm gonna just try and work through this bottle before I start experimenting with other ones. I'm just so jazzed with this one. I will mention though, before I forget, I will mention that this is very difficult to remove at the end of the day. My Kogendo Cleansing Spa Water cuts right through waterproof mascara, not a problem. Couldn't do anything with this, so I had to like leave some oil on a pad and like really press that and keep it on my eye for a while for it to come off. And I still don't think I got all of it off, not on this eye. For some reason it came off of this eye. And then someone else commented that this should be used like over a mascara, but I don't know. I think it's kind of fine alone. I'm okay with it alone. I'm okay with it alone. I think if I want an even bolder lash look, I will add mascara on and then put this on top. But I think by itself, it's like thickening my lashes. It's keeping them curled. So there are my fabulous lashes. Just kidding. All right. I'm still like, I can't get over how well this works. It's amazing. It's just amazing. All right. And last but not least, lips. So I was just digging through my lip glosses and I forgot about this one. So this is a Forgotten Love. This is the JLo Inglot collaboration, and this is in Goldie Lips. And, you know, I kind of used it straight for like 2 weeks, didn't put it down, and then put it down and forgot about it. Oh, and I forgot that it even has like a fruity smell, which I so prefer over the like birthday cake smell. So there is Goldie Lips. I feel like I should put a lip liner on. Oh, so here is, yeah, I totally forgot that I had this. I think I got this during the Nordstrom anniversary sale last year, and it was part of a set. And this lip liner came with 2 lip glosses. I actually don't like the Bobbi Brown lip gloss that much. They were on the stickier side, and I wasn't really a fan. Like, they were kind of hard to actually get on. At least the 2 that I had, they were like these little mini sizes. Anyway, they had this lip liner in there. I must have just thrown this into my drawer, completely forgot about it. So we're gonna try this today. It is in the color Beige. This looks much peachier than I thought. I almost said in the tube, but in the pencil, it looks a little bit more neutral, but I feel like on my lips it looks very peachy. So that's it for this video. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed seeing me play around with my forgotten loves, my just plain old forgotten makeup, and give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy. Don't forget to comment down below if you have any comments or questions, and subscribe before you leave. I'll see you in my next video.